need to get your fingers moving again. Dear Diary. Hi everyone, hello, this is the Performing Arts Creative Remedies session. My name is Gemma. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me. So this is the 8th session that we've done online, and it's going to be a writing based session. So things that you're going to need for this week are just some paper, a couple of pieces of paper maybe, or a journal or a notebook you've got, pen, or if you prefer to record your work rather than write it, then some sort of recording device. So if you want to grab those things and then come back and join me. Brilliant. So as I said, this is the 8th session that we've done of Performing Arts online, and for the most part of that I've not really done anything to do with lockdown and the whole reason that we're doing this online, the virus. Okay, most of the time I thought that it was quite good to do sort of something away from what was going on in our real lives and do something a bit of escapism, because drama I think is so good at helping us get away from anything that is stressful. Also a really good way of expressing ourselves. It's fun, it's good for communication skills, it's really good for storytelling, and so I thought generally it was good to stay away, but I think it's time that we did a session basically on why we're all here, why I'm here in my living room talking to you like this. So today we're going to do some writing, and some of it is going to be about either your experience or other people's experiences during lockdown. Okay, so first of all we're going to do some automatic writing. So that's where I time you for a minute and you just write absolutely anything you can think about from a starter word. So I will give you the word and you just write. You don't need to worry about sentences or grammar or spelling or anything like that. You just write. It can be a story, it can be a list, it can be like a word association where you write one word then you write another word that responds to that word, whatever you like. The whole idea is that you're just writing for the whole minute. If you're recording, you're speaking for the whole minute, and it just starts to unlock those creative parts of our brain that we're going to need for the session. So I'm going to get my stopwatch at the ready. You don't need to worry about time, I'm going to do that for you. First word that is going to just start us off writing, and don't worry, the first time you do this can really be difficult, and that's why we do it, to sort of get us warmed up. So don't worry if you're struggling. If you get to a point where you think, I don't know what else to write, just always return to this starter word and it might spark something else off for you. So the word is clouds. Clouds in the sky. Okay, your time starts now. So start writing using clouds as your inspiration. Okay, can be absolutely anything. There's absolutely no wrong things to write. You can write anything that you think of when you think of clouds. Write about a cloud you saw once that looked like an elephant. Or you could just start talking about the sky, colours, what clouds look like, how they might feel if you were to touch them. Might end up talking about rain or snow, weather. 15 seconds left, we're nearly there. Keep writing about clouds. Okay. Couple of seconds left. Write your last little bits and pens down. Fantastic, well done. So that was your first minute. So hopefully that's just got you warmed up a little bit. I'm going to do another one just to unlock a few more of those creative parts of our brain that might still be a little bit asleep. I suppose it's like the equivalent of if you're going to do dance or something, flexing your muscles, warming your body up. This is the same for our brain and our creative side of our brain. Okay, new word. Forget all about clouds. Now we're going to write about the internet, okay? Do not worry, you do not have to be an expert on the internet at all. Just let that be your first word and see where it takes you. Time starts now, okay? And go anywhere you like with it. Remember, you don't have to worry about spelling. or even making sense. You can write anything. We're almost halfway through. So that's 30 seconds now. You're doing really well. Keep going. See if you can write continuously for the whole minute. If you get stuck, return to the internet. How is it useful? How is it good? How is it bad? How has it changed the world? Okay, last few seconds now, so write your last little bits. Fantastic, okay, pens down, brilliant. So that was your second warm-up. Now the third one, I'm not going to give you a word. The word is going to be you. You personally. You're going to write about yourself. It can be a list, it can be a sentence, a story, a structure of words. It can be anything you like. It can be facts about you personally, your age, your name, your shoe size. It could be what you earn, what you wear, things you like, things you don't like, how you look, what your hair's like, how often you wash your hair, anything you like, okay? Your favourite foods, what you did this morning, anything, okay? You are the subject of this final minute of automatic writing and continuous writing. So for 1 minute, you're going to just write about yourself. Time starts now. So we should be warmed up a little bit now from those first two. So it should be really easy to just continually write about yourself. Reacquaint yourself with you. Okay, about halfway through. Remembering to always go back to you if you get a bit stuck. You might want to start talking about your family, who your relatives are, who you live with. About 15 seconds to go. Squeeze in any last little bits about you that you can. Opening up those avenues in your brain that sometimes aren't always open, that creative sort of section. Okay, last couple of seconds, so finish your sentence or your word that you're on, and time is up. Put your pens down. Well done. Now sometimes that can hurt your hand a little bit doing 3 minutes of continual writing, so maybe you need to give them a little stretch out, give them a little, some of this. Give your hands a little wiggle around, because I think there is going to be quite a lot of writing in this session, so make sure you do this. At any point you can press pause on your video, of course, as well, and give yourself a little rest or a bit of a stretch of the fingers, whatever you might need to do. Okay, so we're guiding you today towards writing a piece of writing, either something personal if you want to do that, or a character or somebody that you've made up, and it's about yours or their experience of lockdown. And you're going to have a choice at the end of whether to write a diary entry, a poem, or a story. So first of all, we're just going to have a think about the differences between those three mediums, those three ways of writing. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause your video and write down those three words, possibly on a piece of paper, like an A4, and write all the differences, all the things we know about each one. So for example, a diary entry, you might say, it's usually the writer's voice. It's telling you about their day or an event. Usually in a notebook, or it could be typed, I suppose. A poem, rhythmic, poetic language, sometimes rhymes, doesn't have to. Shorter lines, choice of language is really important. And then a story, it can be from either perspective. It can be from first person, or it can be from somebody else telling their story. It needs to have a beginning, a middle and an end. And a story can be made up or it can be true. Okay, so diary entries generally, I guess, are more likely to be true. And poems and stories can be either. So I want you to write diary, poem, story. Think about all the differences, what we know about each one of those three things and what the differences are between them. Okay, so pause your video, just really have a little think about the differences between those three mediums: a diary entry, a poem and a story. Off you go. Excellent. Brilliant. So now you should have sort of refreshed your memory a little bit about those different ways of writing and how they are different from one another. So now your task is going to be to write a short one of each. I'm going to tell you what they're going to be about. This again is just a really short task. They can be just a few lines if you want them to be. It's just to get us practiced in these mediums before we start to think about our lockdown experiences. So you're going to first of all write a diary entry from a birthday. It's your choice if you want to write about your own birthday experience or if you want to write a made up one, somebody who's writing about their birthday. As I say, it can be as short or as long as you want it to be. This is just to get us practiced thinking about how a diary entry is different really to a story or a poem. So it's writing, and if we were all together now, I would love to hear what you've written down about what a diary entry is. It can be different for everyone. It can be truthful, it can be personal, it can be secretive. Often people don't share their diary entries, so it could say things that you might never want anyone to hear or to know. It might be really therapeutic to get that out, okay? So with those things in mind, I'd like you to write a diary entry from a birthday, yours or somebody made up. Off you go. So I would pause the video and take 5 minutes or so to write something. 5-10 minutes, whatever, and it doesn't need to be long. Off you go. Fantastic, well done. Diary entry ticked off. Next, we're going to do a poem, just to refresh ourselves about what a poem is like and how that is different. So I was saying before, usually it's shorter sentences than we might say in a story or in a diary entry. It can be really short, it could be one word, or 4 or 5, whatever. It's usually more rhythmic, poetic, so really delicate choices and really careful choices in your words. Because there's less words, I would say, in a poem, you have to be really careful or thoughtful. It's good to be really choosy about what words you pick and you use. Remember, it doesn't have to rhyme, but it can as well. Your poem you're going to write now, it can be 4 lines. That's it. It can be 8 lines. It can be 8 verses. Anything you want. And your theme for your poem is going to be the sea. So anything you want. As I say, it doesn't have to rhyme, just to get us used to writing a poem. How does that sound? How do we write that? So pause your video, another 5-10 minutes or so, whatever you need, to write your poem about the sea. Excellent, well done. Poem ticked off the list. Third one then is a story. Saying before that it can be made up, or it could be true. It can be spoken from the first person, so that would be, I would maybe start the story. One day I was walking through the forest when I heard a sound. Or it could be from the third person perspective, so that means somebody else is writing it and not the main character. So it could say, on a dark and windy evening, Michael was walking through the forest. Suddenly he stopped. He heard a noise. Okay, so it can be from either of those two angles. Your story that you're going to write now, again, it can be 4 lines, 2 lines. It must have a beginning, a middle and an end. That's important in a story. So the beginning, the introduction of what's happening, the middle, the drama happens, and the end where it concludes. So it could be 3 sentences if you really wanted to make it nice and short. Your story is going to be about a ghost. So 5-10 minutes, whatever you need, pause the video, write a short story about a ghost. Brilliant, well done. Might need to get your fingers moving again because you have done quite a lot of writing so far, so keep refreshing that, and if you need to pause the video, have a little break, do whatever you need to do. Okay, so now we're going to start thinking about our lockdown experiences. And you're going to think about all the good things that it has brought to you and to other people. So that might sound a bit strange, because obviously we know that this is quite a bad thing that's happened in terms of the virus. But lots of people have found some positive things about being in lockdown. So we are thinking about the virus, but also about this situation where we've been forced to stay into our houses, only allowed to go out for food, shopping or exercise. I know things have just changed recently this week with some new guidelines, but we're going to reflect probably on the last sort of 7 weeks or so where it was quite a strict lockdown. Okay, so I have done this activity. So I've put the good things. Now I've thought about the good things for me, but for other people as well. So they're not all relating to me. So I've read more books, there's more time, more me time, regular exercise, time with family, slower pace of life, planting seeds, time for more fun activities, noticing nature more, nature being more comfortable, dolphins and porpoises in the Mersey, less pollution. Write anything on there that you think has been a positive that people might have got and gained from this experience, okay? It can be completely personal. Most of those, to be honest, were from my perspective. But you can throw in a few more things that you think might have been really useful and good for other people as well. So you're going to pause your video, you can get a piece of paper and write down all the good things that you can think that's come from being in lockdown so far. Don't worry if you're struggling there, because it has been a tough time for lots of people. But try and really think about any of the good things that may have come from this time. Okay, off you go. Create your own piece of paper. Right then, and then we turn to the bad. Okay, so things that have maybe been difficult for you or for other people during this lockdown time. So I've created another sheet for bad. Now I've tried to limit both of these to not do too many, but you can go as many as you like. Keep writing on both of them, and this might be something that you want to just keep going through for a couple of hours. Go off, do a job, go and do your walk, whatever, come back, add to the list. Want these to be quite full lists ready for you to do your writing. So some things that I've written: I miss my friends, low energy, motivation, not much work or no work for some people, a lack of trust in the government maybe and leadership, fear over the virus, this virus that we can't see, causes people anxiety and fears, dangerous working conditions for some people, the future is unclear, unknown, lack of freedom, financial worries and uncertainties, missing family, too much news, hearing and reading the news all the time, and of course lives lost as well. So they were my bad things, not just from me, but for what I thought people might be experiencing as well. So your job now is to create your own list, your own sort of mind map of the bad things for you and for other people as well. We won't need to share any of these at all, so this could be a chance, both of these lists, for you to just express some of these things that have been maybe in your mind, and things that you've been struggling with and perhaps you haven't been able to talk about. Perhaps that would be useful to get them out onto the paper. And you can always keep these and sort of look at how can I address, is there anything I can do to help this bad list from the good list. Maybe I need to do less reading of this is definitely me, less reading of the news and worrying about the future when I don't have any control over either of those things, and read more books and exercise more. So they're quite a useful couple of lists as well. Okay, so do you want to work on your bad list and then we'll come back together, okay? Fantastic, okay. So your job now is you're going to choose one of the writing styles, the mediums that we looked at before, so diary entry, poem and short story. You're going to choose one of those. Perhaps in the exercise before there was one that you really enjoyed a lot more, or one that you found was a bit of a struggle, so you want to challenge yourself by picking that one. So pick one that you feel would be useful for you to use today. Of course, if you want to do one of each, that's that's absolutely fine as well. And that would be brilliant, I think, to practice your writing styles. You might want to do one today, in a couple of days do another one, in a couple of days do another. These lists, you can keep them. As I say, they're referenced, so at any time if you want to do another one, you can. So you're gonna, looking at your list, you're gonna start to construct something with lockdown as your theme, okay? So it can be personal, but it doesn't have to be. If you think it would be useful for you to write something personal, then absolutely do that. But if you think it might be more useful for you to think about somebody else in the community, then that's great as well. So for example, it could be a nurse's diary entry of a busy day on a ward. It could be a poem about nature and the world breathing again. I've read a few things online about how the world is getting a bit of a break from all the pollution. So it could be about that. It could be a story about a family adjusting to life in lockdown. Maybe a busy, big family, perhaps Gran lives with a married couple and they've got 3 kids as well. Lots of people to think about. You might want to write a short story about that. But also it can be your own experience. If you want to write a diary entry about your own feelings about lockdown, or a poem or a short story, that's absolutely your choice. I would love to see some of your work or hear some of your work. I think those of you that usually come to my group, you've been asked to sort of keep a journal, a bit of a log of all these activities. I would love to see them when we're back together at the Pyramid, but also if you want to put anything in the comments, I would love to hear them. I have written a diary entry, so I am going to read it to you, just maybe because it might give you some inspiration. So this isn't about my own experiences. I decided to do it slightly outside of my experiences. So, dear diary, this is my first ever diary entry. Feels strange to address you as diary. Maybe I'll give you a name. I've never had the time to write one, but now I have. You won't believe what's been happening here. We're all staying at home because there's a virus killing people. Not all people die from it, but some do, and we're protecting these people. It's very strange. I'm confused quite a lot, and sometimes don't get showered until lunchtime. I'm enjoying the slow pace of life. I've made some friends with some birds that visit my garden every day. I've been leaving them some bits and bobs out. Some seeds, bread, even cheese. They seem to like it. I must find out what birds they are. Sparrows maybe, or finches. I have the time to research it, so perhaps I should. It is hard to get motivated sometimes. I'm going out for a walk every day, which is allowed. I feel grateful I live near the sea. I miss my work. I wonder when I'll be able to go back. I feel far away from my work colleagues, even when we have a Zoom. That's a group video online. Quite amazing, really. But it doesn't fill the gap I feel, unfortunately. That can only be filled with human beings, ones I know, and that are in the same room. But I am grateful for technology, the sea, the birds, and my diary. I will continue to report the progress. Annie. Okay, so I created a character called Annie. I think she lived on her own, and she was talking about, I think this was probably fairly early on in the lockdown experience. Okay, so your job now is to create either a diary entry, a poem, or a short story with lockdown as your theme. Okay, enjoy your writing and good luck. Okay, fantastic. Well done. Thank you so much for taking part in this session. Hope you've enjoyed it. Of course, if there's any questions you have or comments or ideas for future sessions, please write in the underneath the video on Facebook. I would love to hear from you. I think if there's one thing that this lockdown sort of session for me has highlighted, it is that I certainly really miss interacting with people in terms of my job. So I'm really happy and enjoying doing these videos for you, but I can't wait till we are back in the same room again and I can see your reactions and I can speak to you, and if I go wrong, which sometimes I do on these videos, you can forgive me because you see that I'm just me. So I will really look forward to seeing you again. Okay, we've got a final task, as I usually do in these sessions. I'm going to ask you to choose your favourite song, or one of. I know that's a really hard question to pinpoint your favourite song, but a song that you really like. If you've got a way of playing it, you can maybe look, if you've got Spotify or on your phone, you can maybe search for it on YouTube. You might get the music video up or whatever. I'd like you to put that song on and sort of like automatic writing right throughout the whole of the song. But not try to avoid writing the lyrics, because I think it'd be easy if you're listening to hear the lyrics and write them out. I want you to write about how you feel, how the song makes you feel. Maybe it sparks a memory for you from being young or being at a party, or maybe reminds you of a family member. Just write about your experiences with that song whilst it's on. You only have to write for sort of the 3 minutes or so that the song's on for, but however it makes you feel, however, whatever it reminds you of, write those down, write for 3 minutes. And hopefully that's an enjoyable final task as well, that it's a nostalgic, nice thing to do. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that final task and say thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you, have a good week. Goodbye.